I used to live in a small, quiet apartment complex in upstate New York. Just 3 floors, 12 units, nothing fancy. It was the kind of place where people kept to themselves. Rent was cheap, which made sense once you lived there long enough to notice the weird little things that didn't quite add up. My unit was 2B, second floor, right in the middle. I'd moved in about 6 months earlier after a rough breakup and was mostly just trying to get my life together. I worked late nights at a diner and spent my downtime binging creepy YouTube videos and watching the rain hit my bedroom window. Life was manageable, quiet. Except for one thing, the footsteps. Every night without fail around 1 a.m. I'd hear pacing above me, like clockwork. Someone walking back and forth in the apartment directly above mine, Unit 3C. At first I figured it was just an insomniac neighbor. The steps were consistent, slow, steady, repetitive, almost hypnotic. And honestly, after a while I got used to them. They became background noise. A weird kind of comfort, like knowing someone else was awake while the world slept. But then, things started to change. It started small. The footsteps got heavier, uneven, like someone limping. Then they became more frantic. I'd hear bursts of fast, erratic stomping, like someone running from one end of the room to the other, then sudden silence, followed by these weird dragging sounds like furniture being slowly scraped across the floor. One night, I was sitting on my couch around 12:45 a.m., eating leftover fries, when I heard something drop. Not like a chair or a book, but something heavy. It hit the floor hard enough to make my ceiling rattle. I paused the video I was watching and listened. Then I heard whispering, not yelling, not talking, whispering, fast, panicked, desperate. I couldn't make out any words. It sounded like one voice at first, but then I realized there were two. One whispering frantically, the other deeper, just slower, almost growling. It was subtle, but it made my skin crawl. I turned off the TV and sat in the dark, just listening. The pacing started again, then stopped. Then there was this low, guttural moan like someone in pain, or trying not to scream. At that point, I was done. I got up, stepped out into the hallway, and stared up the stairwell toward the 3rd floor. I stood there for a solid minute, debating whether to go check on whoever was up there. But something stopped me. Something in my gut said, "Don't go up there." The next morning I called the property manager. I told him I was worried about the woman in 3C, said I'd been hearing disturbing noises for weeks, and last night sounded like someone might have been hurt. There was a long pause, then he said, "There's no one in 3C right now. That unit's been vacant since January." This was April. I laughed nervously, thinking he must be mistaken, but he insisted. Told me the place had been empty since the last tenant passed away. I asked what happened, and he dodged the question. Said something about legal stuff and that it wasn't his place to share details. That night I stayed up with my phone out, ready to record. Just before 1 o'clock, like clockwork, the footsteps started, then the whispering, then the dragging. I hit record and captured about 5 minutes of audio. Later, when I played it back, I turned the volume way up. That's when I caught something I'd missed the first time. Underneath the frantic whispering was that second voice again. A deep, raspy growl, barely audible. I played it back multiple times and isolated the sound as best I could. It said, "Don't let him hear us." I sat there frozen. I don't know why, but it felt like they were talking about me. The next day I talked to my neighbor across the hall, an older guy named Ron. He'd lived there for over a decade. I asked him casually at first if he ever heard anything from upstairs. His face dropped. "You've been hearing stuff too?" I nodded. He stepped out of his doorway, looked around like he didn't want anyone else to hear, then said, "You know what happened in 3C, right?" I shook my head. He sighed and told me a story. 5 years ago, a woman lived there. Mid-40s, lived alone. People started hearing strange things, banging, whispering, crying at night. She stopped coming outside. Mail piled up. Eventually, someone called the police for a welfare check. When they got inside, they found her dead. But it wasn't a suicide. Not exactly. She died of what they called extreme psychological trauma. No drugs, no injuries, just terror. She'd barricaded herself inside, pushed all the furniture against the door. And here's the thing, next to her body, scratched into the hardwood floor with her fingernails, was a message. He told me to stay quiet. I felt sick. Ron said no one had lived in that unit since. Every time the landlord tried to rent it out, people broke the lease within weeks. Said the place felt wrong, cold, heavy. Later that night I decided to go see for myself. Around midnight I walked up to the third floor and stood in front of 3C. My heart was pounding, palms sweating. I knocked once. Nothing. The hallway light above me flickered. I tried the doorknob. It turned. The door creaked open a few inches. Inside was pitch black. Freezing cold air spilled out like an open freezer. I stepped 1 foot inside and shined my flashlight. The battery died instantly. Total darkness. I stood frozen in the doorway, staring into the black, and then I heard it, a whisper, right behind my ear. Too late, he heard you. I slammed the door and bolted back downstairs. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning I handed in my notice and moved out a week later. But the thing is, even now, months later, in a new apartment, hundreds of miles away, sometimes I still hear it, that pacing above my ceiling, that whispering in the walls, and every now and then, just before I fall asleep, I hear a voice in my ear say, "He followed you."